Hello, good evening, and welcome back. Coronavirus. 3 more people test positive in England. So, the coronavirus about 10 times more deadly than the flu, mortality rate of about 1%, estimates from below 1% to above 1%, compared to the flu of about 0.1%. Transmission is likely the same, so they're very similar, with a possible exception that the coronavirus, COVID-19, could be airborne as well, meaning that infectious droplets could remain in the air even when the ill person is no longer near. Same transmission in terms of the incubation period, so that people can actually transmit the virus, before the symptoms appear. So you can get it from somebody who seems healthy, and then it might later kill you. But as I say, the fatality rate is very low. And with anything like this, especially seeing it is a respiratory illness, you're most at risk if you're susceptible to illnesses or you have any breathing difficulties already. So of course, smokers are at risk, and the Chinese have a greater proportion of smokers than us in the West, and therefore, of course, their fatality rate is going to be higher because their lungs are already plagued by the damages of smoking. So if you're healthy, keep healthy, as I always suggest people to do. You'll be fine. You'll experience the flu. You'll be ill for a few days, maybe a week or so, and then you'll be fine. You'll basically just work from home, do what you can without moving around too much. Probably don't eat. Lose some weight as well, live through it, and hey, you've lived through this deadly disease of the coronavirus, so you've got that to attest to as well. So good on you. You sound amazing, even though you haven't really done much. So for what it's worth, well done. Obviously, though, with any disease like this, you'd rather not have it. That's why we have vaccines for the flu and not for the coronavirus. So it's recommended that you keep yourself clean, as always. It's basically just the same odd things, the same thing that your mum taught you when you were a child. It's the same things then as are now. Dispose of tissues after you use them, wash your hands after you greet people, cover yourself when you cough and sneeze, and don't get coughed on or sneezed on by somebody else. Keep yourself clean, maintain regular hygiene, all that good stuff. Just be healthy, eat well, exercise regularly, all that good stuff to make sure that your cardiovascular system is working well, your lungs are working, you're getting enough oxygen to your brain to function as well, you're not overly stressed or tired, because then that'll wear down your lymphatic system. You can help out that, which is your immune system, by having cold showers as well. So do all that good stuff, exactly the same as you know to do already, and you'll be fine. But as you don't want to get it in the first place, then by all means stock up a bit. It's better to be safe and not need it than, of course, not have it and then need it. So anything that you would normally consume and you'd be happy to consume if you had to, stock up on that. Things like water and rice and beans and all the dried foods and things that have a long shelf life, but preferably keep it healthy instead of a load of tinned crap of all sorts. Preferably keep it healthy, and then, hey, if this all passes by and you don't need to concern yourself about using your rations, then it's just going to be Taco Tuesdays for every day for a week or two. So it's nothing to be afraid of. It's very straightforward. You can get on with your day without really a problem, because if you do contract it, then, as I say, you'll just be ill for a week or so, and you'll be fine. But nonetheless, of course, the sensationalism sells. So as the BBC say here, 3 more people from England have tested positive for coronavirus, taking the total number of UK cases to 23 out of thousands who have been tested. So again, you're fine. 2 of the patients had recently returned from Italy, while the other had come back from Asia, Chief Medical Officer Professor Chris Whitty said. The cases are from Gloucestershire, Hertfordshire and Berkshire. From Asia. I think they mean the Orient here, but they're using interchangeably, but they were pleased when they say, oh, we can use Asia and actually mean China again. Brilliant. It comes as health officials try to discover how a man from Surrey caught the virus after he became the first person to be infected within the UK. The man who was being treated at Guy's and St Thomas' Hospital in central London had not been abroad recently, unlike the other cases in the UK. So, moving on. They say the package of measures from the government would be designed to help the public sector, such as the NHS and schools, cope with the serious rise in cases. There are a few details about what the measures could involve, but school class sizes in England is one area which would be addressed. They would be permitted to rise above statutory limits in the event of widespread teacher absences. So if the teachers become ill, then of course they won't be in the schools, but the children still have to be taught because, hey, we're not going to stop the country because some people got ill. Unlike in China, of course, as it followed the Lunar New Year, and they're not working as they had before. So you can even see NASA pictures where the pollutants in the air from their factories, it's just ceased over the last few weeks. So their air is a lot cleaner now, which is nice. So hey, for anybody like Greta Thunberg's crowd and all that, if humanity is having such a negative effect with our pollution, and it's so severe and so rapid, then I'd love to see the obviously noticeable changes by China being the main polluter, how that's affected the temperature on Earth, because as it is so severe in 12 years before the world is over, clearly a few weeks when we've completely stopped, at least in China, that's going to have a noticeable impact. It won't, but it's nice to dream, isn't it? So they have their analysis here as well, as always. For what it's worth, never mind. And Boris Johnson is saying he's going to have a meeting next week in order to see what needs to be done with their Cobra group, of course. Labour are slamming them, say, it's not done soon enough, we need more government intervention, like always. I said, well, no, how about we fucking don't? I mean, you saw how it came out of China because there was too much government intervention. People were trying to speak out and say there was a problem, and they were reprimanded, silenced, or even killed. I mean, who knows what the fuck happens over in China when they're harvesting their organs. So, yeah, government intervention ain't gonna help. Freedom is, though, so let's have some more of that, why not? So, in other recent developments, the Foreign Office has called on Iran to immediately allow health officials to examine Nazanin Zaghari Ratcliffe. I can pronounce the last one there. A British Iranian woman jailed in Iran. Her husband, Richard Ratcliffe, said he suspected she has the virus, but said prison staff were refusing to test her. Conspiracy theories and false medical advice are becoming a problem in Iran. The country has seen more fatalities than anywhere else outside China. Conspiracy theories, always dubious about that. A really fun one, that the fear of the virus wiped £200 billion off UK firms' value. And I remember Stefan Molyneux mentioning this a couple of weeks ago as well, that especially seeing that the coronavirus followed the Lunar New Year when the Chinese shut down, and that the factories and facilities in the West don't have a big enough of a backlog because the space is too expensive to rent in order to fill it up, that of course they are running out. And so we can't create and sell and keep up like we normally do in the West because we're so reliant on China, as is the rest of the world. We're all reliant on China. That when they're not able to produce what we need, then the global economy takes a downturn as well, as you're seeing here. So one of its worst weeks since the 2008 financial crisis. So that's to be expected. I mean, if you're in the stock market, obviously they say don't sell now because it's probably the worst point. We're going to bounce back, as I say. It's not such a terrible disease. You'll be fine. So just ride out the storm. I mean, if you're interested, then by all means invest now because you're going to make your money back most likely. But hey, I'm not a financial advisor, so do what you will. People who have been in close contact with the first person to test positive for the virus in Northern Ireland have all been notified. Drive-through test centres for the virus have opened in Antrim and Edinburgh. Ocado has seen a spike in demand, as I recommend for yourselves as well. Order whatever you want. Obviously, if you're ordering a load of water, like they got them in those 5-litre containers, then you might prefer to order it in than go to the store and pick it up yourself. It depends how big your vehicle is, really. Seeing as, depending on the size of your family or the people you live with, you could probably get through 5 litres a day without too much issue anyway. Especially if you're supposed to drink a gallon of water a day. Yeah, good luck with that. So, President Donald Trump says the first person in the US to die from coronavirus was a medically high-risk woman in her late 50s. Yeah, it's obviously targeted. We're kind of overdue for a plague or a cleanse anyway, aren't we? So this will separate the wheat from the chaff. I mean, surely the people for the NHS are going to love it because then it's actually going to take out these old people that we can't afford to support. That's brilliant. Just like how they actually like smokers because they die before the pensions kick in. So isn't that nice? Because no government wants to pay pensions. You're supposed to work until you're dead. That's the best idea, which is why it's up to you to develop your own pension, a private pension instead of a state pension. France has temporarily banned gatherings of more than 5,000 people in confined spaces as they reported a jump in cases. You can't have a load of people together. They're just going to use this as a push to stop any radicals or revolutionaries, aren't they? Because, hey, you can't have that many people joining together because of coronavirus, and then they're going to go, oh, well, this has been so successful that we're going to stop people joining together in such large numbers because of fear of revolution, as we've seen the world over time and time again. And South Korea recorded its largest increase in coronavirus infections in a single day on Friday, bringing the total number of infections in the country to 3,150. And the Orient actually playing it quite smartly, at least that I've seen in Japan, places like Sapporo and Kyoto, that they have their empty tourism adverts now, where hey, you can get flights and hotels cheaper than before, and you can enjoy the tourist hotspots without any other tourists there because people are staying inside. And because Japan is 98.5% homogeneously Japanese, most of the tourists there are Japanese as well, although 30% of their foreign tourists are from China, so they're not turning up either. But because of both those factors, if you go visit Japan anytime soon, it'll be cheaper to fly there, it'll be cheaper to stay there, and there won't be as many people clogging up the areas, and it'll be beautiful and tranquil for you to go visit. So hey, why not? So they mention the regular ideas, wash yourselves, keep yourself clean, don't be dirty. And Dr. Natalie McDermott from King's College London told the Today programme it was alarming because it becomes more difficult to contain the virus when it is not clear who patients have been infected by. But she added the government's worst case scenario planning should not be a source of concern. It's important that we all prepare for the worst, but that we don't necessarily panic and assume the worst, she said. So good stuff. More quarantine concerns that you don't really need to be concerned about. Jet2 has said that it would only fly passengers back to the UK if they had completed a 14-day quarantine at the hotel or tested negative for the virus. 14-day incubation period isn't enough, seeing as the longest confirmed has been 27 days, but we're thinking it's basically a month or 28 days, so the month of February, except leap year, okay. But about a month incubation period, that is to say, how long can you have the infection before you show symptoms of it? That's the incubation period, and it has been 27 days, longest known. So it's probably longer. So let's say a month. In that case, the 14-day quarantines are probably slightly useful, but all in all useless, because they could have it on day 1, start the quarantine on day 3, go through to day 17 or 18, then come out a week later when they're at home with their family, been moving around as they would. Then they get the symptoms, and they've infected all those dozens or hundreds or thousands of people. So the same goes there. But never mind, they're trying with their quarantine, seeing as the World Health Organization did acknowledge that and say, yes, we know that there has been a case of 27 days, but we're going to stick with a 14-day recommendation, which is probably just pragmatism more than it is actually medical advice. So last of all, Public Health Wales said it was working to identify close contacts of the Welsh patient who was believed to be from the Swansea area and was infected in northern Italy before returning to the UK, as that is the first one in Wales. So with all that in mind, do keep safe, as they say. Wash your hands frequently, dispose your tissues, throw away tissues. If you don't have a tissue, use your sleeve, but wash it. Avoid touching your eyes, nose and mouth with unwashed hands. Avoid close contact with people who are unwell. Just regular common sense stuff. Although the face masks, which are lovely, I'm sure, I believe the virus is 200 nanometers, and the fine mesh of the masks isn't quite adequate to stop the virus. And you can get it through liquid transfer from the airborne element. Therefore, you can be infected with it coming through your eyes. Yes, because your eyes are holes. As it happens, Vsauce did a good video on this recently, in how many holes do you have that your eyes do link into your colon. So yes, that is an entry point into your body. But hey, keep safe, keep healthy, stay active, keep yourself clean, hygienic, stockpile all the food and water that you want, that you'd be happy to have. Maybe just spend 100 or 200 quid more early on in the month and later on in the month to make sure you stock up, and then run it through its course to the end of the month. And hey, don't let it get in the way, because if you're healthy and active, you're not going to find a problem. So until next time, have a good one.